There is a moment, you may not think about it, but when I describe it, you will know. A song found you. Not just any song, not background music, not something you chose deliberately to fit a mood you were already in. A song that arrived when something happened. Something you have never been able to explain. The words feel smaller than the experience. Emotion is too general. What actually happened was this.
Every layer of you that is normally active, the layer that worries, the layer that plans, the layer that monitors how you are coming across, went quiet. All at once. All at once. And in the space where all of that usually lives, something else became present, but as something you had almost forgotten.
It happens all at once, like entering a room you have not seen in years. And you think, I have always known this place. And then the song ended, and you think, I have always known this place, and you silence after.
And the silence was fuller than any silence you had known before. You have never told anyone about this moment. Not completely. Because the person you would tell would either say, yes, I know exactly what you mean, which would be everything. Or they would look at you slightly blankly and you would feel the impossibility of the translation and give up. So the moment lives privately. This opening. This brief, inexplicable, luminous visit to a place you cannot locate through the oldest teaching on this earth, what it means that you have been there.
Today I am going to give that place a name. And I am going to tell you, through the oldest teaching on this earth, what it means.
Before I give you the word, I want to stay inside, before it receives its name. Think about what was happening in you in that moment. You were not thinking about the music. You were not analyzing it. You were not appreciating it the way a critic appreciates something, from a safe, evaluative distance, with something in you had stopped evaluating. The part that evaluates had gone quiet along with everything else. And this is what makes this experience different from ordinary pleasure, even deep pleasure. Ordinary pleasure still has a you inside it, a you who is enjoying the thing, you who is aware of the enjoyment, a you who might even be thinking, this is good, I am glad I am here, this is what I needed.
In the moment I am describing, that you was not there. There was no one standing inside the experience observing it. There was only the experience. And the experience was, for that duration, not separate from you. Or more precisely, it was the you that is there before all the other yous arrive.
Before the worrying one and the planning one and the performing one layer themselves on top of it every morning when conscious returns. The you that is there first. The you that is there first. The one that is always underneath everything. The one that the noise of ordinary living makes almost impossible to hear. That is the place the music reached.
And now we have a word for it. The word comes from the Arabic-speaking world. Older than the classical's meaning, older than the great cities where it has centuries. It is a word for something that pre-tradition that has ever tried to name it. Tarab, Rab. The word appears in classical Arabic poetry, before the Common Era, before Islam, before the great civilizations of the Arab world had taken the shapes they would eventually take. Poets were writing about Tarab, before the oud had the form it would eventually have. Before the maqam had been mapped and named, the feeling was always there. The word arrived early to name it. But it was the Sufi tradition, the mystical current, that gave Tarab its deepest context. What is the shortest distance between the human soul and the truth it is always reaching for? And through centuries of practice, the Sufis were not musicians primarily. They were seekers, people who had taken one question more seriously than any other. Prayer, fasting, whirling, the silent repetition of sacred names, until the repetition dissolved into something wordless. They arrived at an answer. The shortest distance is not through discipline alone. It is not through study alone. The shortest distance, the most direct, the most immediate, the most
Tarab is not enjoyment of music. Tarab is what music does when it works completely.
When it removes, temporarily, completely, sometimes with a speed that surprises the person experiencing it, every layer between the listener.
Present, when every layer has been removed, is what the Sufis spent their entire lives trying to reach through every other means available to them.
Music got there faster. The tradition of classical Arabic music, from Egypt across the Levant and into Iraq, was built entirely around the production of tarab.
Not the performance of technically correct music, not the demonstration of virtuosity, or the execution of a composed work, from beginning to end without deviation.
The production of a state in the listener. The musician's entire craft, every technique, every ornament, every decision about when to hold a note and when to release it, when to return to a phrase and when to let it go, was in service of this one goal: to take the person in the room, with all their ordinary concerns, and dissolve them, temporarily, tenderly, completely, into tarab. The measure of a great Arabic musician was not the reviewer's opinion or the accuracy of their execution.
Whether the audience called out, whether they swayed, whether they wept, whether they asked for a phrase to be repeated, the way you ask, I will always be right here with you. Always right here.
And no musician in the long history of this tradition produced state more completely, more reliably, more devastating.
She was born in a small village in the Nile Delta in the early 20th century. Her name was Kulthum. She was the daughter of an imam who sang religious recitations at ceremonies in the villages of the Egyptian countryside. Long before she had a stage, she had an ear trained so finely on the relationship between sound and soul that when she finally stood before an audience, the effect was unlike anything the Arab world had heard before.
Not because her voice was technically extraordinary, though it was, because her voice produced tarab.
She understood, instinctively at first, then with increasing mastery, that tarab is not produced, it is produced by what happens inside the work,
By the bend of a single note, by the decision to return to one phrase, not twice but 15 times in a single performance, each time approaching it from a slightly different angle.
Each step takes us closer to the silence. Deep in the silence, we find the light.
يا حبيبي
يا حبيبي عائذة من فضلك عائذة.
الأطلال.
Not because they had not heard them, because the tarab she was producing was something they needed to stay inside for, as long as she was willing to hold them there.
She performed for the last time in 1972. 50 years later, her recordings stop people in corridors, on headphones, on early morning trains. The note finds you wherever you are, and the removing begins again. Because tarab does not expire. The recording is simply the key.
The place the key opens has always been there, waiting. This same experience from the inside. Cut from the river where it flowed.
He wrote about a reed flute, cut from the riverbed where it grew, separated from its origin, carrying grief in its hollow body. What comes out is not just music.
It is the cry of the soul for the place it came from, for the origin it has always known and has never been able to return to. And when a listener truly hears that cry, something happens between the musician that is not ordinary communication.
Across the distance between the human and whatever the human is most deeply reaching for. That recognition is tarab. Now I want to take you somewhere. Not to Egypt, not to the 13th century where in the white heat of his own longing.
I want to take you to the teaching that existed before any of these places had names.
The Tirthankaras of what Tarab is describing approach it through music.
Soul, in its original nature, is already what every mystical tradition has ever pointed toward: pure, luminous, completely aware, unobstructed, free. On this earth, taught something that lives at the very root of what Tarab is describing. They did not approach it through music.
They approached it through the nature of the soul itself. They taught that the soul, not a self that needs to be improved or purified before it can access something higher.
The soul in its original is already what every mystical tradition has ever pointed toward: completely aware, unobstructed, free. Not as a destination to be reached, as the starting condition. The condition that exists before everything else is layered on top of it. Layers have formed. Not damage, layers, like sediment settling over. The river is still clear underneath. But from the surface, looking down through everything that has accumulated, you cannot see the bottom anymore.
But from the surface, looking down through everything that has accumulated, you cannot see the bottom anymore.
You have forgotten what the bottom looked like. You have almost forgotten that it exists. The Tirthankara teaching called the practice of clearing these layers Samyak Darshana.
Right vision. Clear seeing. The soul perceives existence as it actually is.
Without the habitual self-protection and self-narration that ordinarily stand between the soul and direct experience.
And here is what changes everything. Samyak Darshana is not produced by years of meditation alone.
It is not produced by study or by discipline, or by the gradual accumulation of spiritual practice. It arrives, it breaks through, when the conditions are right, suddenly, unexpectedly, uninvited, like a silence so complete it makes all previous silences seem noisy.
That is Samyak Darshana flickering at the edge of what Tarab produces. Not the music itself, not the ecstasy of the sound, but the thing the ecstasy clears the way for.
The Sufis called this moment kashf, the unveiling, the instant when the veil between the ordinary self.
Rumi did not know it. No Sufi musician bending a note in a candlelit room in Cairo, no connection existed between them. No shared text.
And yet every time Tarab happened in that room, every time a note bent at exactly the right angle, Samyak Darshana was present at the edge of it.
Not caused by the music, revealed by it, the way sunlight is revealed when clouds move, rather than created by the moving cloud.
Tarab is the music that lifts the veil. Samyak Darshana is what is visible underneath. Kulthum did not know the word Samyak Darshana.
Two traditions, separated by an ocean of time, lost to each other in the silence of history. The same door, the same opening, the same glimpse of the same thing. This is not coincidence.
The Tirthankara teaching has a word for it: Sat, that which has always been real. The truth does not belong to the Sufi tradition. It does not belong to classical Arabic music.
It does not belong to Egypt or to Afghanistan, or to the 13th century or the 20th. The truth predates every tradition that has ever found a path toward it. Every tradition is simply a different path to the same clearing. Tarab is the Arabic musical path. Samyak Darshana, the Tirthankaras mapped. Both lead to the same clearing, a clearing where the ordinary self has been dissolved by music or by decades of practice. Something luminous is present.
And you recognized it the moment it arrived. Not as something new, as something you had always known. The clear bottom of the river, always there, always waiting, for the right note to find you in the right moment, with something in you open enough to receive it. This is what
Every week, one ancient word, one person or one tradition that lived it so deeply, they gave it to the world into the next one. Next week, a word from Denmark. From a small, cold country given a name. But before I tell you the word, I want a teeling it answers.
Perfect! Let's post that one.
Did you guys see this video?